it was another home game. You always looked at it as another home game, and that's no disrespect, it's just a fact.
You done messed up, Aaron!
Stay frosty and head over to ezmutt.com for the cheapest mutt coins on the market. When I say cheapest, I mean it. We're talking 1 million coins for around $40. Use code DIRECTOR for 5% off. Yo, what up, brothers? It's the Director. Chargers fans, you guys ready for Raiders week, baby? Week 4 Monday night primetime game. The Chargers versus the Las Vegas Raiders. And there's a lot of narratives in this game. An old rivalry versus old friends. The Chargers will be taking on Gus Bradley, Casey Hayward, and Denzel Perryman in this rematch of the practice squad. It should be a big one, man. The NFL and its surrounding fans have viewed the Raiders as quite the hot team early in the 2021 season. I have a feeling that the Chargers are ready to host these Raiders and serve them up a nice hot slice of humble pie, because this is a different team. The Raiders, yes, they've gone up against some perceivable good teams. The Baltimore Ravens, probably the best one, Pittsburgh Steelers, and then the Miami Dolphins. But I feel like there's all those teams have had their issues. I think more specifically with their offense. Very, ground and pound kind of offense for Baltimore. There may be some quarterback issues for Miami and Pittsburgh. So we'll have to wait and see how this one matches up, man. But we have a lot to uncover in this video, a lot to unpack in this video. So it should be a good one. Before we do get started, Chargers fans in the comment, I want to know your X Factor player of the week for the Chargers. Which Chargers player do you think is the biggest difference maker in trying to grab this win versus the Vegas Raiders? It should be a good one. Guys, before we do kick this video off, hit us up with a like and sub if you do enjoy this Chargers content. The small amount of time you guys take to hit the like, sub, and bell notification helps me out a lot. Let's get into this one. Lights, camera, action. The Chargers versus Raiders Week 4 game preview. Now, as always, we're going to start with the injury report. As of recording this video, we got the Thursday injury report in right now. Of course, keep an eye out throughout the weekend. Friday and Saturday should be posted, as this is a Monday night game. Now, yes, the Chargers do have some names to be concerned about. Let's actually go ahead and make this bigger for you guys to see. In the back, Keenan Allen dealing with an ankle injury, limited practice. Again, a lot of these guys I'm hoping will be okay, right? If any one of these guys does miss time, it's going to be pretty tricky for the Chargers and how they adjust to this game. Joey Bosa has been getting full practices in. This man is a warrior, man. Brandon Staley last week talking about the warrior spirit. We saw that in Joey Bosa last week versus the Chiefs, and honestly, I think he's going to be just fine. He's going to be a big focal point of this video today in Joey Bosa. Alohi Gilman, limited practice. He's been playing, honestly, pretty dang well. Hopefully, he does get a full recovery very soon. Chris Harris Jr., Derwin James, and Justin Jones all limited as well. Again, Chris Harris playing a lot of safety, playing a lot of nickel. I think that hopefully he is fine, man. He hasn't really been up to 100% for the past couple of weeks. And Derwin James, dislocated shoulder last week, came back in the game. The dude, again, warrior mentality. I do think that he should be okay. I'm actually hoping crossing my fingers, because this is going to be another big game that we need him versus another hugely talented tight end in Darren Waller. More on that in just a second. And of course, Justin Jones. I feel like the Chargers could use all the help that they can get versus any running attack. One that boasts Josh Jacobs and, of course, Peyton Barber, who popped off last week versus Miami. We need Justin Jones in there. Now, taking a look at the Raiders. Very interesting, long list of players as well. Nate Hobbs, cornerback. I think that's a rookie slot cornerback who is limited with a shoulder injury. Again, kind of the same thing with the Chargers right now. Kind of a wait-and-see sort of situation. Lots of limited practices in. Dallin Levitt, full practice. Carl Nassib, full practice. Denzel Perryman, full practice. So those guys should be fine. But outside of that, their corners banged up a little bit. Might be a focal point for the Chargers and their offense this week. Nate Hobbs, Trayvon Mullen, definitely something to look out for. Roderick Teamer, again, another former Charger, than Solomon Thomas, defensive tackle as well. So again, very, very important. We'll be tweeting stuff along the way this week as far as injuries are concerned, because again, we have a long ways until Monday as far as football is concerned for these injuries to kind of show more light and information. Okay. So now let's start getting into the key matchups of this game. This is going to be a really big game for Chargers fans, but I just think equally as big for Raiders fans. Okay, we saw at the top of the show Derek Carr, running his mouth off about the Chargers, being another home game for them, whatever. I cannot wait for that first moment that the Chargers, put up a big play, either defensively and offensively, and that stadium silence, other than the Chargers fans, of course. It should be a really fun watch. Now, to highlight some of these matchups, we need to first talk about the elephant in the room, okay? The Raiders picked up former Chargers cornerback Casey Hayward over the offseason, and honestly, a lot of us were pretty bummed to see that, and especially bummed to see him rocking the silver and black, through free agency. He's been looking pretty good this year, and again, I think that's what really stings for Chargers fans, that Casey Hayward did in fact still have something left in the tank, whether it be through Gus Bradley's, defensive scheme that he's thrived in for a couple of seasons now, or, Chargers had some bad luck in looking at his situation. Either way, Casey Hayward's been looking pretty good in the first couple of weeks. But again, we'll point out some reasons as to why in just a second. Now, this will be a rematch between him and Keenan Allen, Mike Williams. I think it's going to be a close matchup, honestly, because Casey Hayward and Keenan very familiar with each other. They should know how to counter one another, but I still give the edge to Keenan Allen by a large margin. Keenan Allen is just one of those special guys you talk about in the league, right? I don't know how many people are talking about Casey Hayward as one of the best cornerbacks in the league, but plenty of people are talking about Keenan Allen as one of the best wide receivers in the league. So if it comes down to that, I'm giving the win to Keenan. And honestly, it might, again, I hate to see this because we all love Casey Hayward, the Charger, but as a Raider, he's probably going to be reminded as to how good Keenan Allen is in this matchup. And this does leave Trayvon Mullen and company to Mike Williams and the other wide receivers on this roster. I feel like Mullen has been good. Seems like a very physical cornerback, but it's a mismatch. Don't mistaken that. It is a mismatch for these Chargers wide receivers. If he's matched up with Keenan Allen, it's win Keenan Allen all day. If he's matched up with, Mike Williams, it's win Mike Williams all day. So I think it's going to be a long day for the Raiders, defensive backs. And I think the Chargers and Justin Herbert are going to be one of the first teams to notify them that they haven't faced against some of the best passing attacks yet. And again, we'll get into that in just a second. Now, I think additionally in this game, it's time to start giving more touches to Josh Palmer. I love Jalen Guyton, who I do see as a candidate to break out this game. Not even break out, but just have a really solid game versus the defensive scheme of Gus Bradley. But I think Josh Palmer has earned the right to get more touches in this game, especially after what we've been seeing from Jalen Guyton. A lot of drop passes. He's been utilized more in that sense of, deep balls and trying to get those big chunk yard plays out. But I haven't seen the consistency in bringing down those catches as often as I would like. And in a team versus like the Raiders, we know what the Gus Bradley defensive scheme looks like. You can really give the ball to these playmakers that can carry the distance. What did I write down here? Let those playmakers stack the yards after the catch. And I do think that Josh Palmer is definitely up to the challenge. He can move the chains, reliable hands, great route runner, great separation. I think he should absolutely cook whoever is in the slot cornerback position for the Raiders. That might be Nate Hobbs last I saw, but we also know about the Gus Bradley system is that he's kind of famous for matching up linebackers versus slot wide receivers. And honestly, you throw a Josh Palmer who cooked some of the best DBs in the nation last year in his collegiate career, you put him up against a linebacker. I just see a lot of good things happening. So I'm hoping that we do see number 5 on the field a lot on Sunday, because I think he's going to be one of the bigger mismatches when it comes to who do we target, who's your first look. Next up, we do got to talk a little bit about Jalen Guyton, who I do think could be a big playmaker this week. Again, kind of the same things we're talking about with Josh Palmer. If they decide to roll out with Jalen Guyton, which I can definitely understand that he's got the edge on speed, maybe a little bit more room for separation because of that speed. If they do have linebackers lined up against him, I can definitely see a big day for him as long as he brings down those catches. If he shows signs of struggling early, I would definitely throw Josh Palmer in the mix a little bit more. Now, what do the Raiders have that the Chargers should definitely be paying attention to? Well, last week we went up against one of the best tight ends in the league, probably the best tight end in the league, in Travis Kelce. This week, we're going up against the second best tight end in the league, and honestly, they're kind of neck and neck at this point. Darren Waller, an absolutely fantastic talent at the position. He's going to be somebody that the Chargers have to key in on defense. Okay, but I do think that we can handle him. Last week, we saw a combination of Derwin James and Mike Davis covering a Travis Kelce. And honestly, surprisingly, I feel like Mike Davis held up pretty good versus Travis Kelce. He does have that size, sort of advantage when it comes to our other DBs. I think somewhere around 6'2" and very fast. And honestly, I was really worried every time I saw number 43 matched up with 87 last week, but still, it seemed like he was able to handle it. And that's something that Brandon Staley likely was able to observe and witness and bring into game day that really did work. Because you want to keep Derwin James free to play all over the field, right? And when he's not on Darren Waller, we want to have a guy that can handle him in Mike Davis. And so far, so good. He's looking very dominant, but still, that doesn't excuse what Darren Waller can do on the field. If we're talking Mike Davis versus Darren Waller, I still give the win to Darren Waller in this instance, but it's good to know that Mike Davis isn't going to let him go crazy, right? Like some other matchups that we might see. I think last week we saw a little bit of Mark Webb, our rookie safety, versus Travis Kelce, and that's the drive we saw a lot of yards, picked up by Travis Kelce, so hopefully we don't see a lot of that on Sunday, okay? Now, can the Chargers humble Derek Carr? Actually, let's show this one first right here, right? Can the Chargers humble Derek Carr? We saw the clip at the beginning. We understand Derek Carr is having a great season. I think he's number one in a lot of stats in a lot of categories in the league right now. And honestly, he's been playing fantastic. We don't want to take anything away from Derek Carr. He's been a very, very good quarterback. But can the Chargers humble this man? I think Derek Carr does have an issue when he does get sacked. Okay, I think when he takes some pressure, when he starts taking some hits, he does end up getting a little bit rattled. And the Chargers have his kryptonite on the other side of the ball right there in Joey Bosa. Of course, Joey Bosa, his very first game ever, I think as a rookie, did get to Derek Carr, I think a couple of times. And I think he's getting ready to do it again, man. The bigger they are, the harder they fall. And I think this will definitely be a big reminder that the league is just going to get tougher and the schedule is just going to get tougher for the Vegas Raiders, starting with the Chargers. Still, we can't underestimate him. Almost 400 yards a game, 2 touchdowns a game. It's something that we definitely have to game script for and game plan for, but I think our kryptonite, again, right here is Joey Bosa. Okay, again, getting known for getting rattled after taking hits, and I think Joey Bosa is starting to lick his chops a little bit because Joey Bosa is going to be matched up against a rookie right tackle in Alex Leatherwood, who has been struggling mightily this season. I think 3 sacks allowed so far, 10-plus pressures. The man has been falling apart, and he has been facing some pretty good pass rushers, but I don't know if they faced, somebody quite as lethal as Joey Bosa quite yet. And Joey Bosa last week versus Patrick Mahomes took care of business. I think he's getting ready to do it again right here. And I think in the case of Derek Carr and his mentality and the way that he's shown that he gets rattled in the past, I think one early sack, if the Chargers can manage one early sack in the first quarter, this could give us a nice tilt going into the rest of the game. You got to get in Derek Carr's head a little bit to slow him down. So Joey Bosa, definitely one of those X-factor players that I'm looking for in this game to make a big impact. The earlier he makes it, the better shot the Chargers have at closing out this game and limiting Derek Carr. Okay? Now, speaking of the Chargers defense and Derek Carr, the defense, I feel like, has been a hugely underrated part of this team. Yes, they've been giving up a lot of points, and yes, the Chargers defense has, bent not broken a lot as well to be spoken of, but at the same time, I think the way that they've been generating turnovers, their opportunities to generate turnovers, has been a lot higher than it has been in the years past. And I think we have to credit a lot of that to Brandon Staley and the way he positions his defensive playmakers. One of which being Asante Samuel Jr., who's become one of the best rookies in the NFL this season. Does he continue his pick parade? He might actually do that this week. Derek Carr has thrown a couple of picks this season, and I'm hoping that in the general area is Asante Samuel Jr. in there again to punish the quarterback for forcing throws where they shouldn't be, even where they shouldn't be. Asante Samuel last week, diving interception. That was a very tough play to make, and Asante Samuel made it happen, so I'm really hoping that he does. Now, Bosa is great, but we also have to talk about the other side of the line as well as far as the pressure. Getting Nwosu and Fackrell more involved, I think, is also key this week. And I think, again, rattling a Derek Carr a little bit is definitely something that we want to focus on. But still, the Chargers, they've been showing signs of being a turnover-generating machine, okay? I think in week 2, they dropped a lot of opportunities. But recently, they've definitely been picking themselves up and showing signs of being a hugely dominant, turnover machine. I think they can do it again, whether whether it be through fumbles, whether it be through interceptions. I think the Chargers have really shown the moxie and the mettle to come down with those clutch plays, especially last week versus Patrick Mahomes. If the Chargers can slow down Patrick Mahomes, I think Carr is in for a big surprise. The last couple of things I had written down right here is Drew Tranquill has been stepping up. I hope to see more snaps from him. And I think if the Chargers can once again win the turnover ratio, this definitely helps us stay ahead of Vegas, because the Vegas Raiders offense has been pretty efficient. If we can stay ahead of them as far as the points are concerned and scoring is concerned, I think the Chargers have a really good shot at closing this one out with a pretty decent lead. Okay? Now, a big thing the Chargers fans have been concerned about has been the run defense. And last week, Peyton Barber, in relief of Josh Jacobs, definitely went off versus the Miami Dolphins. Stopping the run is going to be tricky for the Chargers if they don't have Justin Jones returning. If he does return, that's a pretty big deal. But at the same time, even if he is there, the Chargers' sort of mantra on defense is let the plays underneath develop if you have to, but stop those big plays. So we're going to be focusing on stopping, a Henry Ruggs. We're going to focus on stopping, a Darren Waller. Try and get those big plays out of the picture and force them to really earn those scoring plays. This week, if you're the Raiders, and I've said this like the past couple of weeks consecutively, you're looking at the Chargers, how to attack them. It's got to be on the ground, right? But the tricky part is game script doesn't always support a violent and aggressive ground attack. If the Chargers can consistently stay ahead, it's going to force the Raiders to try and abandon the run just a little bit in order to try and play a little bit of catch up, right? And I'm starting to kind of understand the formula that Brandon Staley has come up with in attacking the AFC West specifically. So if I'm the Raiders, I try not to get deterred if they end up losing the lead and still try to establish that run. But more than likely, teams start to panic, trying to pick up first downs, trying to pick up, opportunities to score. And more than likely, the Chargers would be able to punish them for that. But still, we have to watch out for Barber. We have to watch out for Josh Jacobs. We don't know his status yet. And I do think that the Chargers might be in for a long day if we can't figure that out. But still, that being said, the Chargers' defensive scheme and formula has been working so far, and I think if they can keep it up and if Brandon Staley can properly utilize his defensive playmakers, the Chargers could stay ahead of it just a little bit. Now, another big storyline for this week is the Chargers' offensive line, okay? We all know that Rashawn Slater is one of the best in the league. I think he's been titled the best rookie so far in the first month of the NFL season at left tackle. That side looks great. Corey Linsley's been holding up fantastic. It's that right side of the line that we have to worry about a little bit, and that's where number 98 starts to worry me. Max Crosby, one of the better pass rushers in the NFL. And we also have to mention, Yannick Ngakoue on the other side, who's one of the better pass rushers in the NFL as well. How is this Chargers O-line going to hold up? And I think the biggest maybe key impact that we're going to see, key matchup that we're going to see in this game is Max Crosby or Njoku versus Storm Norton. Storm Norton definitely can be perceived as the Chargers' weakest link on that offensive line. So if I'm the Raiders, I'm throwing a lot of extra pressure to that side. Might be a long day for Justin Herbert, but he's shown to really be efficient under pressure. But hopefully the Chargers offensive line can give him just enough room to operate and grab that lead and make some big plays. But still, we got to watch out for Max Crosby. We got to watch out for Ngakoue as well, okay? So speaking of Herbert, Justin Herbert. I think some people can argue that Herbert and the Chargers will be the most dangerous vertical attack that the Raiders have faced so far. We talked about their first 3 games, right? Baltimore is a ground and pound team. They don't have a lot of healthy receivers out there, so they honestly didn't have to deal with that quite as much. Pittsburgh and Miami, both having quarterback issues. Big Ben not looking like the Big Ben of the past. Miami, what did they go up against? Jacoby Brissett last week. Definitely not one of those vertical attack quarterbacks that's famous for doing something like that. I think the Chargers, and again, Brandon Staley, the way that he dissects a defense, dissects a team situation, is going to understand that and attack them through the air quite aggressively this week. I think their DBs are good, but are they really? Is the facade of the first week kind of painting a picture that might not be true? I think if anybody's going to prove that, if anybody's going to expose that, it's Justin Herbert and Brandon Staley. I think Herbert is definitely the best quarterback they've faced so far. No disrespect to Lamar Jackson, but the dude does have some times that he struggles, and I think Justin Herbert at this point feels like a more complete quarterback, more dangerous vertically, and I think that's going to cause a lot of problems for the Vegas defense. Not to mention the Vegas defense. We know how to attack these guys. We know Gus Bradley. We know what he's famous for, those cover threes, those prevents. And I think the Chargers will take that opportunity using all the playmakers they've got, Austin Eckler, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, to make some big plays and let those, premier players, those playmakers stack the yak, the yards after the catch. So maybe I won't expect a bunch of H-bombs, what we call them, big plays by Justin Herbert, but we'll see a lot of big plays by the playmakers, by the players themselves, taking those plays for a lot of yards, giving the Chargers opportunity to move the chains and score. Justin Herbert, man, I can't wait to see his statement on the Raiders saying, hey, man, you've faced some pretty decent teams so far. Here's a really dangerous team vertically. Are you guys prepared for that? I don't know. I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite certain of that, man. So the Chargers at this point, it's going to be a big day for Mike Williams. I feel like once again, you're going to see their best cornerbacks on Keenan Allen once again opening up opportunities for Mike Williams. I think he's going to have a big day. I think Eckler actually surprisingly has a big day. And hopefully Jared Cook, former Raider as well, gets more involved this week. If I were a betting man, though, if it were up to me, I should say, I would hope that Donald Parham gets a lot more snaps and looks this week as well. So if you guys are ready, let's do this, man. My final prediction, my score prediction for this game, the Chargers versus Vegas Raiders in Monday Night Football, primetime football. Score is going to be Chargers 31, Raiders 23. Kind of crazy, right? That just kind of speaks to the efficiency of the Chargers defense. If they can continue to win that turnover ratio, we're in really good hands. That's going to limit the Raiders scoring opportunities, which the Raiders defensively, I think with the last I saw, were allowing around 30 points a game. And if anyone's going to expose that, it's Justin Herbert. But we can't take this team lightly, okay? They're on the uptick for a reason. NFL fans are paying more attention to Vegas for a reason, because Derek Carr has been playing out of his mind, and they do have a lot of playmakers. But where the Chargers can attack them, I do think, is vertically versus their defense, and also Joey Bosa and our defensive backs who have been generating a lot of turnovers against Derek Carr. I think it should be a really good one. The Chargers offense will be proved to be too dangerous for the Raiders defense to handle, and Brandon Staley is a mastermind who should see right through the Raiders' familiar defensive scheme. I think it really does come down to that. So guys, in the comments section, let me know some of your score predictions for the Week 4 Chargers versus Vegas Raiders Monday Night Football game. And again, let me know some of your X-Factor players that'll play a big part in maybe grabbing this win versus the Raiders. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me. If you guys did enjoy this content, hit us up with a like and sub on your way out. We'll see you next time. This has been The Director. Thank you guys so much for joining me. And as always, bolt up and stay frosty. Let's go get that win with Vegas, man. Serve up that humble pie.